So these right here are some of my predictions for the UFC in 2025. Starting off with the light heavyweight champion, we have got Alex Pereira. Now, this might be a bit of an obvious one, and a lot of people might agree with me on this one. This guy will not be anywhere near as active in 2025 as what he was in 2024. Now, that might come across as a real obvious one, but I think we'll be lucky to see Pereira fight twice this year. I think he is going to main event UFC 314 against Magomed Ankalaev out in Miami. Don't ask me why I think that. I just think that. I haven't seen it announced anywhere. I just have a feeling that is going to be that main event. Then it comes down to two fights on when we see him back. But we'll talk about that later on because I don't want to ruin it. So let's move on. That's the first prediction. Alex Pereira will not be anywhere near as active this year as what he was in 2024. Moving on. Next prediction. Amanda Nunes will make her UFC return this year. I think potentially end of the year we see Amanda Nunes versus Kayla Harrison. Now look, that's not me disrespecting Juliana Pena. I'm just going to be honest. Kayla Harrison is leaps and bounds better than her in my opinion, and will absolutely decimate her in there. I think Kayla Harrison will comfortably beat Juliana Pena. In fact, I'll go as far as to say I think she finishes Kayla Harrison. Juliana Pena. Fuck! I think Kayla Harrison will finish Juliana Pena in there. And then I think at that point this division's dead. And the only reason that it will be revived or a fight to look forward to will be if the greatest women's fighter of all time makes her return to the UFC. And I believe Amanda Nunes will make her return to the UFC this year. Maybe a December card we could see Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes headline a card. I would like to see Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. Just don't want to see it main event a card, to be honest. I'm just going to be honest with you. But if a women's fight has to main event, then this is the fight that I think should main event a card this year. I do believe Amanda Nunes is making a return. Moving on, I think we're going to get some big signings this year from PFL/Bellator, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I think a lot of big names are going to make their way to the UFC this year.
But what the hell, boy?
Starting off, now this is a photo of these three. Corey Anderson, Patricio Pitbull and Patchy Mix have all been in the media complaining about how shit pretty much the PFL are at matchmaking and getting them fights. And I think these guys will be released from the PFL this year. I think the PFL will really struggle this year. I mean, they give Francis Ngannou like one of the best MMA deals of all time. The guy has one fight left on his deal, has said the only thing that interests him is a rematch with Tyson Fury. They've paid him millions. His first pay-per-view event under the promotion only sold 10k buys.
But what the hell, boy?
PFL, yeah, they're going down, I think. I can't see them being around for much longer, to be honest. Now, Patchy Mix, I think he is coming to the UFC. I would really like him to make his way over to the UFC. Just a big name to be in some big fights over there in the UFC. Moving on to the Bellator GOAT, we have got Patricio Pitbull. This guy, 2-division champion. He is definitely way past his prime. I mean, this guy is not going on a title run at all in the UFC. Although, I think there are some wins that he can get in the UFC's featherweight division. But I just want to see him over there. He's a big name. He's a big name that hasn't fought in the UFC. He is clearly unhappy with his position in the PFL. The PFL, I don't even think they don't have a bantamweight division. I'm unsure if they have a featherweight division. Either way, Patchy Mix and Pitbull are making their way to the UFC this year. I do believe it. In terms of Corey Anderson, he did complain about the lack of activity he was getting. He did get a fight there with Bellator. I don't think the UFC will bring him back, to be honest. But who knows? They might. He's the Bellator light heavyweight champion right now. I mean, he was a very highly ranked contender in the UFC's light heavyweight division. Let's not forget when he absolutely smoked Johnny Walker. Although, just don't know if the UFC will bring him back. I think Corey Anderson might unfortunately have to stick with the PFL. But Patchy Mix and Pitbull, I am predicting they make the jump to the UFC. Moving on to my next prediction. Let's start off with this one right here. I think we're going to see some double champ fights this year. I actually think we might see multiple. Starting off with Ilia Topuria. I think I think he's going to beat Volkanovski next. I think that's the fight they're going to do. I think he should fight Diego Lopez after that. However, I wouldn't be surprised if after beating Volk, the UFC try and make him versus Islam Makhachev. I would not be surprised if that is the route they go down. Although I would like to see the Diego Lopez matchup. But, I mean, I'm not going to complain if he's going to be fighting Islam Makhachev. Because that's a fight I really want to see. For Islam Makhachev, look, I know people in the comments are going to say that he's brothers with Bilal and all that stuff. But as Habib famously said,
who cares? Who cares, man?
I think he's going to go up and challenge Bilal Muhammad. I think that would be the perfect main event for UFC Abu Dhabi in October. Islam moving up to challenge Bilal Muhammad for the welterweight title after Bilal Muhammad beat Shavkat Rakhmonov. That there is money. So those are two double champ fights I can see potentially happening. Well, if Ilya is moving up to fight Islam, then I don't know if Islam's going to move up and fight Bilal because Islam isn't the most active a fighter. So we might only get two. Then switching over on the other one, we've got Alex Pereira. Like I said, we might only see this guy once this year, and it depends on what happens in the Tom Aspinall-John Jones matchup. If Tom Aspinall beats John Jones and John Jones retires, then I think we get this main event at UFC MSG in November. If John Jones stays around and wants a rematch, then I don't think that fight happens. And I don't think we see Alex Pereira fight again unless Jamal Hill gets a really, really impressive first round demolition KO over Yuri Prohaska, which I just don't think is going to happen.
Bruh.
Then that's when I think we only see him once this year. I think he'll fight Magomed Ankalaev, and then I think it'll be they're keeping Pereira on the shelf because Yuri maybe KO Jamal Hill, which is what I think is going to happen. Then Pereira's waiting to fight the winner of John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. Then they fight International Fight Week in July. Then it's is Jones going to rematch him? Is Jones going to retire? We don't know. And then that means that we don't get to see this fight. But I'm predicting that we're going to see maybe a Pereira double champ fight this year. Moving on to my final prediction, we're going to see 3 big mega retirements this year.
But what the hell?
Starting off, we've got the Nigerian nightmare Kamaru Usman. I just think he's past it now. 37 years of age. We thought he was going to fight JDM. He's not. I don't know what's next for him. This would be different if he was fighting at middleweight. I think he might have more to give up there, but definitely not in the welterweight division. I think he might have one more fight, depending on how it goes and who it's against. If he loses again, he definitely retires right away. If he wins, then he might get a title shot, lose, and then retire. There's a lot of things, but either way, I think Kamaru Usman is retiring this year. Moving on, we have got Dogbender Israel Adesanya.
Bruh.
I like Israel Adesanya. I think the guy's very underrated now. I don't think people really appreciate what this guy has done, the work that he's done, especially in the middleweight division with those multiple title defenses, the win that he's got on his resume. But I think he will beat Imavov, and then I think he might end up fighting whoever wins. I think he might end up fighting Khamzat Chimaev essentially for the belt, potentially at the end of the year if everything plans out. I think he loses to Khamzat Chimaev, and then I think it's curtains for Israel Adesanya. I think after his next loss, this guy is definitely going to retire.
But what the hell?
And finally, we've got Volkanovski. I think he's going to lose to Topuria and retire. I think he's going to be on a 3 KO losing streak, and I think it's going to be curtains. I think it's going to be curtains for Alexander Volkanovski. I think he will retire this year. 3 big retirements, Volkanovski, Usman, and Israel Adesanya. Some of the biggest names we have had in the past couple of years in the sport. They will be missed. But I think their time has came and gone. And I think it's curtains. I think they're going to be retired. So yeah, those are my predictions. Pereira will not be as active as he was this year. We might see a couple double champ fights this year. I've got Amanda Nunes making her return, and I've got some of the PFL fighters making their way over to the UFC. Let me know what predictions you have for this year for the UFC, and as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Hope everybody had a good 2024, and hope everybody has an even better 2025.
But what the hell?
Everybody here, don't know why, but this year we're going to be going for the 1,000 subscribers. That is what I'm after this year. That's my goal, 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, 30k on TikTok. And I'll see you again in the next one.